Proceed.
Mr. Chair, members, Lester Bagley, Vice President of Public Affairs for the Minnesota Vikings. I've got a couple of quick slides to run through, make some opening comments, and then if there are questions, our Vikings Chief Financial Officer, Steve Poppin, can join me down at the table. We appreciate the opportunity to come before the committee. It's been a long day, I know, so we'll get right to it. We're grateful for you that you're taking time to focus on this issue. We know you've got a lot of priorities, a lot of work done, and a lot of hard work ahead of you. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about the Viking Stadium situation. Real quick, a few comments about where we believe the situation is. Some opening comments. Here we are in the 2010 legislative session, and we are down to 20 games left at the Metrodome, and which is why we're here. We've been trying to have this conversation, bring this conversation forward. We've not been at the legislature in any committee hearings since 2006, since we were here with Anoka County on that proposal. So it's been a few years since we've had an opportunity to bring our case forward. So again, thank you for the opportunity. Where we stand, we are at the bottom of the NFL in revenues, and last in the league. There are 32 teams. We're at the bottom. The challenges at the facility in terms of revenue streams have to do with the size of the facility. It's the smallest. The Metrodome is the smallest stadium in the NFL. It's the second oldest that hasn't been dramatically renovated, and it's a challenge in terms of space and programmable space and revenue streams that provide the opportunity for our team to be competitive. The other challenge we face at the Metrodome is the fan experience. We've been positive about the Metrodome. It's been a great facility for this community of this state. 77 million people have been through the Metrodome, and so it's been a great multi-purpose facility used by all of Minnesota. But the challenges are dramatic in terms of the fan experience. And the game day experience for our fans, in terms of the concourses, the lack of facilities, restrooms, especially for women. The challenges are significant. If you would walk into the Twins ballpark or the XL Energy Center, you see what a fan experience a modern facility provides, and so those are the two challenges, really: revenues and fan experience. We also have the challenge where there's the pressure being put on the Vikings and on the state, frankly, and as well as from the NFL, from other owners, and also from other cities who are working to secure an NFL team. In 2010, we feel like we've got some momentum, some opportunities to bring this conversation forward. We've got a great bipartisan, bicameral leadership group that have stepped up to try to take this issue on. We're appreciative of that. There's a coalition effort, many of whom you'll hear from tonight, includes CEOs and business community, business leaders. We have CEOs of our major employers that are engaged in this discussion: Target Corporation, Best Buy, Medtronic, Ecolab, General Mills, to name a few. But there's a great coalition of folks. So we have our folks in organized labor, the building and construction trades, and the local 17, the hospitality folks whom we hear from tonight, as well as folks in the hospitality industry. And most importantly for us, our fans are engaged. We have some here tonight, we see, and we appreciate that. But we're going to hear from our fans, and our fans have been helpful in bringing the discussion forward as well. They're passionate. They care about this team. They care about this issue, and they're very much paying attention. To get to the issues that in terms of the stadium and the costs, the number in the bill is $791 million, and that is made up of a $632 million open-air NFL program stadium. When you add a fixed roof at 159, you get $791 million. The fixed roof is something that our organization has late agreed to consider. Our opening discussion has been an open-air stadium. There's been very strong support for a multi-purpose facility. So the discussion had been over the last couple of years a retractable roof facility. So what we've done is, and what we've shown is a willingness to consider a fixed roof to try to drive the cost down, to try to bring this down as tight as we can. In terms of the Metrodome site, the asterisk at the bottom, this number is only the pure construction. This is what it would cost to build a stadium anywhere in Minnesota. For the Metrodome site, it does not include a parking structure, does not include infrastructure. There's some minor infrastructure issues closing 5th Street. Be happy to answer any further questions about that. And then there's also the issue of lost revenues. If we tear down the Metrodome or reconstruct the Metrodome on that site, the Vikings would need to play at least 2 seasons at the University of Minnesota. Our view is that the owner contribution should be calculated on the NFL program, on the open-air stadium. It's not that we believe the facility should not have a roof. We just believe that the benefits of a roof are great, and that they accrue to the state of Minnesota and to the community, and that, again, we believe our contribution should be calculated on the NFL program. So if you subtract owner contribution from 791, we're left with $580 million. If that is bonded over 40 years, that would be a $35 million need to solve. And so that's the number we've been working toward. Again, the 40 years is something that we've agreed to consider, but we would also need to ensure that there's some flexibility for that. If we would agree to a 40-year lease, which our owners are open to, we would be the first and only NFL team to consider and to sign a 40-year lease. So it's a significant issue that we believe needs some flexibility in order for that element to be included in an agreement. As talked about, and I'll let others make this point, but the stadium is for all Minnesotans. Having an NFL team requires us to have a stadium, and having the stadium allows us to maximize its use. We believe and agree strongly that the Metrodome has been a great community asset, a great investment for the state, a great return on investment, and it's also been used by high school amateur sports, football, soccer, cheerleading, baseball, as well as community events, NCAA basketball. It's not likely that we'll ever get another NCAA basketball tournament in Minnesota until we resolve this issue. The Super Bowl is a possibility. We would likely get a Super Bowl in Minnesota if we can resolve this issue, as well as the many other events there. One point that we wanted to make about the operation of a new facility is that we believe that the legislation should recommend hiring a for-profit operator. And the issue there is we've had conversations with legislators about that issue. The example is the Metropolitan Sports Facilities Commission does an excellent job of running the facility, of opening it, keeping it safe and clean, but they're not motivated to go out and recruit and secure events throughout the nation. There's a lot of events that we could get to this facility. Again, we believe that the legislation should include a recommendation at the least that we look at hiring a for-profit operator, so we can get an organization that's out there aggressively recruiting events, so we can maximize the activity at the facility, which also increases the economic activity in the state and the community and the taxes generated. A couple other points, and then happy to stand for questions. One is the taxes that we pay. This is the but-for taxes, but for the Vikings in Minnesota. In 2008, the Vikings paid more than $18 million in taxes. We'll get this number updated, but for 2008, we paid $18 million in taxes. These are checks we've written or withholding on players and staff, sales taxes, and the like. So there's the argument is, but for the Vikings in Minnesota, these taxes would not be paid. The other way to look at it is, without the Vikings, there would be an $18 million gap or hole in the budget that would have to be addressed, and those are taxes that go to pay health care, education, roads, et cetera. A CSL study, I think we're going to hear from the Sports Commission tonight, and CSL, they did a study that showed that a new stadium and the team will generate $26 million a year in taxes. That is the $18 million projected forward that we pay, combined with the economic activity at the facility. So if the number we need to solve for is $35 million in the scenario I laid out earlier, we have an opportunity to get $26 million on our way to the 35 just by having the team and the facility. The stadium virtually pays for itself. A couple other points, the paid it forward argument, again, a Sports Commission study, RSM McGladrey, and I apologize, Chairman Terwilliger, if this is something you're covering tonight, but just real quick, the Metrodome was built for $55 million, $33 million in public money. The state of Minnesota put in zero. But in return, the Metrodome, since it opened, has generated $319 million in taxes. $304 million of that has gone to the state of Minnesota. The Vikings have been responsible for more than half of that figure. Again, our point is that that at the very least, the state of Minnesota needs to be at the table to help sort through this issue, as it's been a tremendous beneficiary of the Vikings and the Metrodome since it opened. The jobs argument, which you'll hear from Mr. Melander and Mr. Luneberg about both the ongoing jobs as well as the construction jobs. The numbers in this slide are provided by Mortensen Construction, 3,100 construction jobs on the Twins ballpark, 2,200, total of 5,300. Viking Stadium opportunity is 7,500 jobs, as well as the local subcontract value of $577 million. Sports Commission also did the job study. They can talk more about that. Quality of life impact, as we wind down here, the more fans than ever are following the Vikings locally and nationally. Nearly half of the people in Minnesota follow Viking football on Sundays. We averaged in 2009, we averaged a 69 share, which means that 69% of the televisions on game day were tuned to Vikings. That's approximately 2 million people in the state. When you add the radio audience of 400,000 to 500,000 and the 65,000 that are at the Metrodome, you have half of our population following Viking football. No other entertainment or no other entity can come close to that number. In terms of television eyes and viewing, for example, the 2009 Vikings versus Packers game at the Metrodome, Brett Favre's return here against his former team, was the most watched cable television event in history. The 2009 NFC Championship game in New Orleans, which ended badly, but it was watched by nearly 58 million people in the United States. So there's, again, more people watching this team than ever. We're a strong community partner. Needs to be acknowledged that for the third year in a row, a testament to ownership and coach and our locker room, that all 53 players on our roster, plus our practice squad, have participated in the community program. Our children's fund has raised and generated $8.5 million in cash that has gone to children and family-related causes. More than half of that has gone to the University of Minnesota Department of Pediatrics. Lastly, on terms of economic impact, I know that the CEO of Meet Minneapolis, Melvin Tennant, couldn't be here tonight, but he did provide a study that has been circulated that showed that the Dallas Cowboy game, playoff game this last season, generated $5.8 million in direct spending. What we know from our ticket holder base is that we have 56,000 season ticket holders. Of our 56,000 season ticket holders, 40% of them reside outside of the metro area. 22% of our ticket holders come from outside Minnesota. We have, on game days and the night before the game, we have people coming over from the Dakotas, northern Iowa, Canada, western Wisconsin. We've got 22% of our 56,000 season ticket holders come from out of state. And we know from surveys and talking with our fans that half of those people, both half of the outstate out of state, as well as half of those non-Metro fans come and they stay at a hotel before the game, and sometimes 2 nights. Lastly, we believe, and I think there's strong belief that the Vikings are a state asset. Our owners, we believe, have the right approach to our state in this situation. They have an investment approach. We want to invest in a winning team, invest in our community, stand ready and willing to invest in this public-private partnership, as well as a broader development around the stadium, should that be appropriate and the need for the community. This opportunity to resolve this issue will get Minnesota that competitive multi-use venue. It'll secure the Vikings for the next generation of fans. It will leverage those significant tax revenues, and it also is the largest economic stimulus opportunity on the horizon. We really believe it needs to get done. Our ultimate goal as an organization is to win world championships, and we're committed to that, and we will bring that home. Finally, conclusion, why now? We believe there is an opportunity. Construction costs are down 9% from a year prior. Interest rates are at a 20-year low. There's this tremendous opportunity to create jobs. The clock is ticking in terms of the lease. I think there's public support. There's a public expectation that we keep the Vikings in Minnesota, and I think the Twins ballpark shows what's possible for our state with this new facility. To secure the long-term future of the Vikings, we have Minnesota Momentum, which is our grassroots site that people can find more information. A lot of things I talked about tonight are the facts and figures are on our website, minnesotamomentum.com. With that, Mr. Chair and members, we'll stand for questions. There are.